Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I post it up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. I would like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They are an online therapy company. They are international. If you are overseas and you need to get into a therapist and you're not happy with what is going on in your country, you can get on to betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez, fill out a questionnaire. They will place you with an American counselor that is licensed and is a master's level or PhD level. So betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. And if you're here in the US, you just don't like your therapist and you don't want to have to drive forever and you want to do online, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. They'll set you up with a counselor that is licensed in your state. So boom, there we go. Alrighty then. So questions, lots and lots of questions. So one interesting one I got, if you get a chance, could you talk about complete disgust towards relationships, panic attacks when people express romantic interest in you, feeling easily smothered and controlled when there is none, feeling trapped when people are over too long. So, okay, that's a lot. Okay, so, without knowing what the context of that is, if there was past abuse, that would make a lot of sense. So feeling disgust when thinking about a relationship, a lot of times when people come out of abusive relationships, especially if it was, a really abusive romantic relationship, they come out of it, and then the idea of ever getting involved again is just like, no thank you kind of thing. So that would make total sense. If, however, there's been no abuse and there's this sense of disgust with a relationship, that would be like, okay, what else is going on? But that's common, feeling that coming out of an abusive relationship or even coming out of an abusive family. I mean, if we had to sit there and watch domestic violence between mom and dad or grandparents or whoever, then the idea of getting into a relationship is just the last thing we ever want to do, is what we're thinking. But yeah, without kind of knowing the context, panic attacks when people express romantic interest in you, that would speak to probably past abuse or feeling easily smothered and controlled when there is none. So we tend to be hypersensitive to criticism because abusers very often are extremely critical and nasty and controlling and smothering and. So if we are coming out of a family origin of abuse, we're going to be feeling hyper vigilant. So this is part of PTSD, CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So there's a hypervigilance to anything that the abuser did. So that would include, any controlling behavior, any smothering, any, that kind of thing. So my suggestion would be get with a good trauma therapist and sort out where is this coming from. Because sometimes the disgust can also come from a low sense of self-esteem, like, oh my God, why would anyone want to be involved with me? That's disgusting. No, thank you. So you want to work on self-esteem. So without knowing more of the context or knowing what's going on, the best suggestion I would have is get with a good trauma therapist and start sorting this out, because this is limiting your life. So if you're feeling disgust when somebody's expressing romantic interest in you, or you feel smothered, or, and you're pushing people away, that want to be with you, you're kind of limiting your life. You're kind of limiting the joy that's out there. So I would strongly suggest get with a good trauma therapist, start working through the books and start working on self-esteem and kind of figure out where is this coming from, what's going on. And again, without knowing more of the context, I'm just making a really generalized guess here that there was some sort of abuse that had happened, which has made you hypervigilant, which is causing, this response to romantic or to feeling controlled. And with PTSD, that would be a normal response because you're hypervigilant and anything that reminds you of the abuse, you're going to be like, oh, hell no, no thank you, and not want anything to do with it. So I would strongly suggest get with a good trauma therapist and take it from there and see what's going on. I hope that answered the question. Oh, then the other part of it is I feel trapped when people are over too long. And then somebody else said, I've had that trapped feeling all the time. Glad you mentioned it, but I feel trapped in work situations as well as social. Again, I think that has to do with the abuse, because if it was a family of origin abuse, you can't do anything until you're old enough or moxie enough to get away from them, either by, declaring yourself emancipated or by turning 18 and being like, peace out, So there is that trapped feeling. And there is that trapped feeling with romantic abusers as well, or abusive bosses, especially if you're like, oh my God, I can't quit this job. Oh my God, I can't, I can't be without this work. That's a terrible feeling to be in. There is nothing more freeing than knowing you have another job lined up and being able to give them the big middle finger and be like, see ya. So, wouldn't want to be ya, so that feeling of being trapped, again, that's the hypervigilance. So I would definitely get with a good trauma therapist and start working on that. When did you feel trapped in the past? Journal it out. Who trapped you? What was going on? Is this an inner child thing? Is this something that happened in your childhood? Is this something that happened in a romantic relationship? Is this something that happened in a work relationship? Excuse me. Write it out. Journal it out. What happened, who, when, where, what, how, and then write them a go screw you letter, like a go pound sand letter. Like, guess what, mofo? I'm an adult and I'm not a tree. I can move. I can leave. I am not at your or anybody else's mercy. Thanks for playing. So that kind of thing. So that's what I would suggest for the feelings of being trapped. Again, that's hypervigilance. If that is coming from an abused past in any way, shape, or form, then it's expressing itself as that hypervigilance, which is part of PTSD. So, which that indicates to me, get with a good trauma therapist and start working through that feeling of being trapped. And then again, okay, then there's the other part of it of, introverts, extroverts. If you're introverted naturally and you don't particularly enjoy being around a lot of people for a very long period of time, yeah, if they overstay and you've reached your sensory limit, you're going to be like, please leave. Please just leave. Please leave. So, it would be a good thing to, that is something that is just, I think comes naturally, to a lot of people that are introverts. So that is something that you can draw a boundary with. If people are overstaying, you let them know ahead of time. Look, I cannot handle long engagements, so let's keep this short. There's nothing wrong with saying that. It's a boundary. It's like if I'm like, okay, it's kind of different, but with my chiropractor, I love Lori. We could stay and talk and everything else, but if I've got to go, I'll be like, okay, Lori, I got to be out of here in 20 minutes. So, she gets her stuff done and we go. So that's a boundary thing. So I tell people if okay, limited time, and you can talk to your friends about that. It's like, look, I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert. It's uncomfortable to me to do this for a long period of time. I can handle about, and then give them your time limit. If it's a half hour, it's a half an hour. If it's an hour, it's an hour. So there's nothing wrong with drawing boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with letting them know. It's like, okay, I've reached my limit. I need downtime, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. It's so funny because after the whole pandemic thing, it's like, I think I'm realizing it's like, yeah, I'm an extrovert. Yeah, I like being around people, but boy, I'm really enjoying some of my downtime. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with saying limit it. Hey, this is as much as I can handle, and because honestly, that's you taking care of your mental health, and that's you taking care of that PTSD hypervigilance. So yeah, get with a good therapist and work on all of those issues. I think that would be a really good idea. And draw boundaries. You have a right to say, I can't do 3 or 4 hours. I can do an hour. And there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. I think that answered that question. I got an order of protection, but my ex has started calling me from unknown numbers. What do I do? Dear God, they're devious. So what you're going to do is you're going to screenshot all of the numbers they're calling from. you are going to call the police and you are going to report all of the numbers, and you're going to do it every single time they call. You don't even wait. It's like as soon as they call and you answer the phone and it's them, and oh, baby, I miss you. Oh, baby, I want to be with you. Blah, 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 blah. Then yeah, you call the police. You hang up and you call the police and you report the number, and then you do it every single time. And you let them know, I know it's him. He talked to me. This is what he said. You document what was said on his end. You do not say anything. You do not say anything. So in an order of protection, you don't want to have any contact with them. So as soon as you know it's them and they've said stuff, you hang up, you screenshot the number, you jot it down, you call the police, and you let them know, hey, I have an order of protection against this person. They just called me from this unknown number. And you just keep reporting it every single time. And eventually, God willing, the police will actually do something. It just depends, I mean, it's like in some jurisdictions, they just don't even know how to deal with domestic violence or, abuse of any kind. And they don't enforce the orders of protection, which to me is a tragedy. It makes me so angry. There was one that I posted about not too long ago where this girl in Texas, one of the patrons that she worked at, had put a tracker on her car, and she got an order of protection. And of course the police were not, oh, well, you're a stripper, who cares, kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't give a rat's ass if she's walking the streets. I'm sorry. If somebody is stalking this little girl, you need to be doing something about it. I don't care what her profession is. I really don't. And that just made me so angry, because it was like, oh, it's okay because she's a stripper that this guy followed her and eventually killed her, by the way. Crazy, crazy, crazy. The only ones that do that kind of thing are dark triads. They are the narcissist, the psychopath, and the control freak. Those are the ones that stalk, which, by the way, speaking of stalking, if you want to see a really good movie, House of Gucci. Oh my God. Super good movie. Really good cast. Didn't even recognize Jared Leto. But the point I'm trying to make is that she stalked him. She stalked him, and apparently the kids are no longer speaking to her after reuniting with her. So I'm guessing there's some mental health issues going on along the lines of, dark triad. Just because it's like the only people that stalk are dark triads. The only people that kill are psychopaths. The only people that do that are, yeah. So anyway, good movie. I highly recommend it. Jared Leto is amazing. I just didn't even recognize him. Anyway, so when you have a stalker, you are going to call the police, and you're going to call every single time they violate it. And if it gets to the point where they're not doing anything, get loud. Go to the media. That would be the next step. It's like, put a spotlight on it. I'm sorry, cockroaches run from the light. So if the police aren't doing the right thing, shame them. Shame them. Make them do the right thing. So you can't be afraid. And this is the thing that I see with a lot of targets of abuse is, oh, I'm so afraid. I don't want to piss them off. They're already pissed off. I'm so afraid. I don't want to make them. No, you're not going to make them do anything. They're already doing whatever it is they're going to do. Okay, so your best bet is to be vocal and to be persistent and to not be afraid. They want us terrified. They want us to make our worlds so small. And they want to be the first thought in the morning and the last thought at night. And they want us to live our whole lives in fear. Don't give it to them. What you're going to do is you're going to call the police each and every time that they violate the order of protection. You're going to document. And if the police don't do what needs to be done, you're going to go to the media and you're going to be loud. What is going on, guys? Why is this not being taken care of? I don't understand this. I've had all of these complaints and nothing is being done. Can you help me? Can you put a spotlight on this? I bet I'm not the only woman that this is happening to. Because you're not the only woman this is happening to. You're not the only guy this is happening to. There are female stalkers out there, and they are cray-cray. You betcha. Because again, just like House of Gucci, In order to stalk and kill, you have to think that the rules of the world do not apply to you, which would be antisocial. You have to think that, that you're right, everybody else is wrong, and that your wants, your needs supersede everybody's. So, and that's not cool. Why did this suddenly start getting jumpy? God, I hope it doesn't do that when it goes into production. Anyway, so yeah, so you're gonna report it. You're gonna report it every single time, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. They want you to be afraid, and they want you to drop the order of protection, and they want you to talk to them so that they can go, oh well, they talked to me. Oh well, they called me. Oh well, they Don't you ever call them. Don't you ever contact them. Don't you speak to them. You just record whatever they've said, and you call the cops, and you keep calling the police every single time they violate it. And if you get no satisfaction there, get loud. Go talk to an advocacy group. Talk to a domestic violence shelter. Talk to an attorney. Do what you need to do. So, because abusers make me very angry, and I would like to have them sent to a place where nobody else is so they can just abuse each other and leave the rest of us alone. So, there it is. So anyway, I hope that helps. So don't be afraid and don't be intimidated. That's what they're counting on. My abuser is jealous of our pets and our children. I cannot believe they have no empathy. Okay, they don't. They don't. They don't have empathy. They absolutely do not. They are jealous of dogs and cats and hamsters and gerbils and birds and squirrels and kids and anybody, coworkers, bosses, friends, family. They're jealous of anybody and everybody that takes attention off of them. They are selfish, and they need to have all of the attention. And when you have a pet, you give love to the pet. So they think that they are owed whatever attention you are giving to the pet, or whatever attention you are giving to the children. And it's a competition. So remember, narcissists are in competition with everybody, even their own children, especially their own children. So yeah, this is a thing, and there is nothing you can do to change that. That is what they will always do. And it kills me when I hear people say, oh no, I don't want to leave because the courts will give 50-50 and then they'll get the kids 50% of the time. Yeah, that could happen. That absolutely could happen. Often what I see though with narcissists, they can't be bothered. They don't want to be bothered having to be a parent. And so a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times I see them give up time. And, less and less and less and less. And then when you eventually go back, you can ask for more time and more child support and whatever. But yeah, so you can't be afraid. That is the big thing, guys. You can't be afraid because the kids are getting damaged whether you're there or not. They are. So, if somebody is raging at the kids while you're there, they're going to be raging when you're not there. And it's like they're still getting damaged. So you'd be better off being able to get them out of that situation, into a therapist, get another set of eyes on it, have them be in long-term therapy and watching the situation, as opposed to you're isolated, you're with them and the kids, the kids there, and you have no one, and you're around the abuse all the time. You cannot heal fully if you're still in the environment that's damaging you. And the kids can't hope to heal if they're still in the environment that's damaging them. Now, the other possibility is that, okay, the abuser's completely batshimomo crazy. They go off the rails. They start doing parental alienation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They make sure that they make the handoffs as difficult as possible. Yeah, that's a possibility. But, and at least 50% of the time, the kids are with somebody sane that's not screaming at them. So it's a no-win situation. It really is. And the fact that the family courts are so stupid, I mean, really stupid, and don't understand domestic violence, don't understand narcissism, or worse, they have judges that are narcissists that side with the abuser, whether that's male or female. Like I said, females can be abusers as well. So, yeah, you can't let fear, though, control you. And you have to be smart about it. If you're leaving an abuser, you have to have a plan. You've got to have a plan. You've got to have a safety plan. You've got to have a way to exit. You've got to have access to funds. You've got to make sure that you've got a support system. You've got to make sure that you know a good attorney. You got to have the resources. So, for example, Fresh Start Women's Resources here in Phoenix, they've got attorneys that you can go talk to and have you fill out paperwork. They cannot represent you, but they can help you fill out the paperwork for like 10 or 15 bucks. That's ridiculously inexpensive because a regular attorney is like $400 for a consultation. But, they can guide you in the right direction. A lot of them are able to go, hey, I can't represent you, but here's somebody who can, and here's how much they charge. And, it's only good stuff. So you want to make sure you have a plan when you leave. You want to make sure that you get the kids into therapy, that you've got another set of eyes on it. You got to let the school district know. You got to let the teachers know, to watch for, especially if the abuser is physical, watch for bruising, watch for, behavior, or watch for, and I realize it's not the teacher's job, but they are mandated reporters. So, yeah, you got to let as many people know as possible once you leave, but, before you leave, you got to get your stuff together, and you've got to get, passports, birth certificates, everything else that you could possibly need in order to go get away and start safely. And yeah. And too, you may need to file an order of protection. If there is physical abuse, you want to document that. You want to call CPS. You want to get other eyes on it. Not that CPS is great. It's now DCS. Don't get me started. But, it's better than nobody. So, well, in some cases it's better than nobody. In other cases it's not. But, so you got to have a plan, and you've got to have a support group, and you've got to have, understand that this is once you leave, once you walk out, yes, it's going to be difficult. Yes, it's going to be hard, but you're going to be out of the environment where the damage is constantly occurring, and you're not constantly going to be around that damaging stuff. So yeah, they are jealous of children. Yeah, they are jealous of pets. They have been known to kill pets. They've been known to kill kids. They're jerks, and that's putting it mildly. So yeah, that's who they are, and you shouldn't be shocked by it. They're showing you who they are. Believe them the first time. Get a safety plan together. Get your evidence. Get your passports. Get your birth certificates, and start talking to a domestic violence shelter. Start talking to Fresh Start Women's Resource Center here in Phoenix. Start getting a way to get out. And they also have housing there. That's the other thing. They've got housing. They've got resume building. They've got jobs. They've got, places that donate clothing for business casual. They've got a lot of stuff to help, and it's for women. And it bothers me that I haven't seen one for men. I would love to see a Fresh Start Men's Center. That would be nice, because guys go through the same thing, So anyway, there's that. So yeah, they do get jealous of the dogs and the cats and the kids, and they're showing you who they are. Believe them the first time. Get yourself and the kids to safety. That's the best thing you can do. And yes, it's scary. Yeah, they're going to have them 50% of the time, maybe, unless you get a good attorney. And if they're that unstable, you get a psych eval done on the whole family. And then hopefully the judge will see what's going on and maybe reward less than 50% to them. But, again, it's a crapshoot. Some judges are really good for that, and other judges would not know their ass from a hole in the ground because they too are disordered. So, it's hard and it's scary. It is. But to stay in the environment is certainly not going to help the kids at all. At all. So, like I said, at least 50% of the time, they're out of it. You're out of it. Yes, you're having to deal with a disordered ex who may be doing parental alienation, maybe stalking, maybe everything else. But you cannot allow fear to stop you. You got to get out of there. You got to help the kids. That's your main priority. So there it is. All right. Let's see. What's the next question? Why are abusers always late? Okay. It's a power and control issue. Abusers are always late because look at that, they're waiting on me. I had an aunt, oh my God. If you told her that the festivities started at 6, she would show up at 9 without fail. This woman is going to be late to her own funeral. So yeah, it's very much a narcissistic thing. It's very much a grand entrance thing. It's very much of, I'm so important, I couldn't be bothered to be here on time. Now, personally for me, in my way of thinking, if I'm not 15 minutes early, I'm late. That's just the way I've always been. It's like, you know, I need to be early to things because I want to make sure I'm there and I know where to park and, you know, this, that, and the other thing. So, you know, because then that way it's not like you're not causing a disruption, but narcissists like to cause a disruption. It's a look at me, look at me, look at me thing. It's a, oh, you need to go out of your way to fix me the dinner plate, even though dinner was over 2.5 hours ago. So yeah, it's a narcissistic, look at me, I'm important, you know, I'm grand entrance and you need to go out of your way to feed me or do whatever, you know, even though everything was over 2 hours ago. And it's a power and control thing, making people wait on them. And the other thing that I've seen is that they get very angry if you go ahead and have dinner without them. And I suggest you go ahead and have dinner without them. You know, it's just like, hey, I told you what time, so sorry, you know. So yeah, it's very much a power and control thing. It's very much of a look at me thing. Look at how important I am and all of that crap. Don't put up with it. Just stop inviting them. That's what I did. Okay. How do you deal with someone who refuses to speak to you if you are in the room? Well, you just don't speak to them. You know, first of all, why are you in the room with them? And second of all, do you have to be in the room with them? And third of all, if you have to be in the room with them, you just be you. You talk to other people, you just ignore them. You know, it's like if they're doing the whole cold shoulder, I'm not talking to you. Okay. No skin off my nose, you know, you just be you. That's what they want. They want to see that, oh, you're not talking to me. Oh, no, screw them. Seriously. It's like, oh, talk to him, you know, Uncle Joe over here, you know. You just be you, be casual. I had that happen one time. Oh my God. I had let go a publicist and we were at the farmer's market and I ran into him. And he did the whole cold shoulder thing, whatever. And I just was like, okay, dude, whatever, you know, and I just kept going and being me. So you don't allow it to throw you off your game. You just don't. That's what they want. They want you to be flustered. They want you to be uncomfortable. The person who should be uncomfortable is the one who's doing this BS, you know, no contact, you know, not no contact, but like cold shoulder, you know, I'm going to show you stonewalling. That's what I was looking for. Stonewalling. It's not no contact. Stonewalling, blah, 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 blah. So you just ignore them and go about your business or, you know, be in the room and do whatever, unless you don't have to be in the room, in which case I suggest you don't be in the room because then it would be better that way. So, all right, let's see. My parents hated it when I surpassed them. It took me years to put up awards. They then tried to ruin all the holidays and birthdays. Well, this is what abusers do. Abusers are in competition with their kids. You cannot do better than them. So really what I suggest is for everybody that has surpassed their parents, you go celebrate, you put up those awards, you pat yourself on the back, and you do not be shamed or embarrassed or guilt-tripped into not acknowledging that you surpassed them. It's okay. They will ruin every holiday, every anniversary, every birthday, every important event if it's not about them. And they get very jealous and they get very angry if you don't go out of your way to kowtow to them. Well, you don't need to kowtow to them. You know, birthdays, anniversaries, no, it's not about them. You know, and they can't handle it. And so they set about to ruin it. If you get an award that they didn't get, they're very jealous. pathologically so. So, you know, with those kind of parents, you just stop telling them about it. They're never going to give you the kudos you're looking for. So the best thing to do is go celebrate with the people that you know are going to support you, and you just don't tell your parents everything. You don't need to. Stop oversharing. They're never going to approve. That's the big thing. And I think that's where a lot of adult children of narcissists get into trouble, is that they keep going back to that parent, hoping that that parent is going to validate or acknowledge them. And instead, all they do is get jealous and angry when you talk about the good things that are going on in your life. So stop telling them. Stop telling them. You share that with the people that you know are going to support you. All right, guys, we are out of time. So this week on Sunday, I'm going to be talking about dysphoria. I'm going to be talking about dissociation. I'm going to be talking about, oh, there was a third one. Hello. Realism, unrealism. So all of this is a form of dissociation. So we're going to be talking about unrealism, you know, that kind of like, is it real? Is it not real? It's almost like a psychotic break, except you know it's happening, which is really scary. So is it real? Is it not real? The fog, dissociating, you know, going through your life, kind of watching yourself go through your life, but you're not in your body. Dissociation, unrealism, and dysphoria. Yes. So avoidance dysphoria, rejection dysphoria. So what to do. And again, that's all part of hypervigilance. So I want to talk about all of that and how to cope with it. That's really, because, yeah. Whew. All right. Have a great week, and I will talk to you on Sunday. Bye.